Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Nditha Mindset Show, and I am your host, Irene Mpatso. The show is brought to you by Nditha Mindset Coaching, which is a personal development company that empowers women to become the best version of themselves through mindset transformation and personal development. And we do this through the provision of private coaching, in-person events, as well as digital programs. And if you are starting your year and you're like, I'm ready to make 2023 different and I need somebody to support me on my journey, DM me or give me a call so that you can have me as your right-hand person to coach you through the process of transforming your life. I am so excited for this week's show, and I can't wait to bring in my guest and be on standby for that. So just a minute. All right, so talking of this week's show, this week I'm talking to Abel Manda. He is an accountant by profession and a serial side hustler by, he is an entrepreneur. He's a serious side hustler, and he is all about getting that there are less pick up from his story, and I'll sit down with him to learn what is his mindset like, what drives him, what drives him to have all these businesses. Why is he into this? And I'm sure that in him answering or sharing his story, you're going to find your own story. And that said, hi Chimwemwe, how are you doing? It's good to have you here. And in the course of the show, if you want to chime in, you're more than welcome to chime in. Do give us your comments, give us your questions, so that we make this conversation rich and we all get something out of it. Remember that the Nditha Mindset Show is all about personal development. It's about you becoming the most self-reliant version of you. It's about self-motivation. It's about mindset change, really changing your mindset from a poverty mindset to an abundance mindset, from a lack mindset to a worth mindset, from a fear mindset to a faith mindset, from a victim mindset to being really self-reliant and believing that you are capable of creating the life that you dream of, and that there is no one who is coming to save you, right? Realizing that there's no one who is coming to save you, you have to save yourself. And I think that there's power in standing in that place. There's power in finding yourself in that place where you're like, there's nobody else who is going to save me. I have to save myself. Therefore, how do I bring out the best of me to the world? How do I show up different in my job? How do I show up as a person, the version of me that can literally get that promotion? How do I show up as a version of me that can get the business done? How can I show up as a version of me who is motivated, who is inspirational, who is powerful, who is, a child of God, who is powerful and standing in their power? So the Nditha Mindset Show is really about reminding you of the greatness that resides inside of you. And this is a perfect time to do that, because it's in the morning. It's in the early hours of the morning, which is like, it's a new year. And we're only 6 days in, meaning that we have the most amazing opportunity to change our lives from where we are to where we want it to be. And I hope that this show is really going to help you to do that. So it's good to see you, Lee. It's good to see you, Chimwemwe, that you're watching. Shortly, I'm going to be inviting Abel here, and I'm sure that we're going to have a rich conversation. And like I said, I would love for you to be part of this conversation. Give us your comments. Give me what's coming up for you for this year. Have you done your intentions already for the year? Do you have like a word that is driving you for this year? And if you have a word that's driving you this year, do give me, like, comment, right? What's the word that is driving you? Is it hard work? Is it limited responsibilities? Is it abundance? Is it worth? Is it entrepreneurship? Is it confidence? What is it? What is the word for you for this year? What is coming up for you at this time of the year? Tell me, let me know. so that we can chime in and discuss and really be in a space where we are really motivated, inspired, and ready to take on the new year. And also, you have to realize that in the course of the year, I mean, you're going to meet obstacles. It's not going to be all smooth sailing, but this show is here to help you to say that you are capable of surpassing your blocks. You're capable of surpassing the challenges on your path. And I think that that's why I find it important that we bring these stories to you, because in these stories, you really see people that have overcome obstacles. And once you, like, what is possible for one person is really possible for all of us, right? So if somebody has overcome their issues, you can really also get yourself on the other side of whatever it is that you're going through. So I'm waiting for Abel to connect here, but as we're waiting for him to connect, like, tell me, what is your New Year's resolutions? Have you come up with your New Year's resolutions yet? Hi, Hastings, good to see you. Hi, Chimwemwe, thank you for being there. Hi, Lee, good to see you. If you've got any comments, you've got any comments, do make sure that you comment, and I'll be able to see your comments. I'll give me your favorite emoji so that I know that you're watching. Thank you guys for being on the other side. I see you, and I can't wait for my guests to join me. Just give me a minute. Let's see. Just give me a minute. So Abel says he's here somewhere, but I can't see him. So what we're going to do is we are going to start this all over again. I'll have to end this, and then so that he can be able to join, because he can join at this very moment. But otherwise, I'm going to end this and start all over again. Oh gosh, I can't wait to get in this conversation. Okay, there he is. He's here. So he's here. Okay, cool. Right. There we are. Good one. All right, so as Abel is joining us, I just want to introduce him. Like I said, his name is Abel Manda. He is an accountant by profession. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right. I'll just give you a minute to settle in. Otherwise, just confirm with me if you can hear me. And for our audience, I also want you to confirm if you can hear both of us. So, Abel, welcome to the show. Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Irene. But before I proceed to introducing myself, let me hear from your end if I'm audible enough. At the same time, you have been breaking in your welcoming remarks. I'm not sure if I should proceed.
Okay, just come again. I couldn't hear you, but I think now I hear you.
Aha. Okay. You are even better. I can hear you better.
All right, great. Yes. So we can hit the road running. Let's start. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Okay.
It's an honor to be invited on your show today.
Now, for those people that don't know you, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Abel. Abel Manda is my name. I'm a resident here in Blanta. I work for an organization called Comfort, which is Campaign for Female Education. And that's my full-time job. And I, like you rightly put it in the introduction and the flyers that were going around, I am also an entrepreneur with a few portfolios of investments that I have.
Yeah, we are going to get in the depths of that in the course of the show. But before we do that, I want to understand, what's your backstory? What was your life like growing up? What did you want to be?
Very interesting. Growing up, like every normal child, I was growing up with a different vision. But because of childhood, I was growing, changing. Primarily, I thought I would become a lawyer because I used to aspire to become one, And then eventually, the second thing I wanted the most was to become an accountant. Pretty much, I believe it was because my dad, as an administrator, I used to look up to him, and I thought, why not go for a white collar job as well and whatnot. And then after my Form 4, I was persuaded to do IT because I was very close to a friend who wanted to do IT and actually was pursuing a career in IT. And then he used to inspire me a lot, and he could talk me through IT quite a lot. And slowly I began to give up my accounting, the aspirations to become an accountant and whatnot. Even though in secondary school I studied the principles of accounting. A year later, I gave up on the dream to study IT because the schools which I wanted to enroll back then, my parents could not afford. They were very expensive. And then I went back to my wanting to become an accountant. And then the following year, I enrolled with my College of Accountancy. And then the journey started pushing through as an accountant until where I am today as an accountant. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. And you being an accountant, like you've mentioned at this international organization, I'm also interested to find out what pushed you to then start on your journey of entrepreneurship, because you have got like multiple side hustles. I think I wanted us to talk about side hustling, which is like you having multiple businesses, even though you have a full-time job, right? I want us to deep dive into that. How did that journey start for you?
In brief, I would sum that up into purpose. I'm quite sure that every person has purpose, and it's my purpose that has driven me to have multiple hustles that I have besides my full-time job. The purpose which I find in me is that I believe every person has somehow a reason for their survival or their living. And I believe that these lives that we live are not just ours alone. We're supposed to be impactful onto other lives or other people. Just like other people have also impacted my life, I believe I have a duty. That's from God Himself, my Creator. And being a believer, I believe that I had to find a way on how I can be impactful on other people's lives. And I knew I could not really achieve that if I was only looking at my employment as a source of income. Have an impact on other people's lives. I know that impact comes from different dimensions, but on all those dimensions, you cannot talk about anything without money, especially in this century. You understand? So to be able, so that drives my hustle, purpose.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love that you bring up the element of purpose, right? And also you brought up the element of money, right? Because as much as we want to impact the world, if we don't have the capacity to do that, we cannot be able to do that. So I love that you bring up that angle. And so I'm interested to find out, you're running like Tan Car Hire, right? You've got a car hiring service, you run Urban Chef barbershop. Which one started? Which business started, and how did it go? How did it spiral to what it is now?
All right. Definitely, Tan Kahaya started.
Okay.
I founded Tan Kahaya in 2016. But even when we were founding Tan Kahaya then, the dream for Urban Chef was there. But we could not have multiple projects running concurrently due to resources. All right. So in 2016, that's when I registered Tan Car Hire, and we started our operations right away in 2016, and we've been operational since then until now. And 2020, that's when we had to put together everything for Urban Chef Executive Barbershop, which currently is only in Blantyre. But to answer your question, we started with Tan Car Hire, and now we're with Urban Chef.
Running these businesses, as you call them, different platforms, right? I wonder how has that been for you, given that you have a full-time job, and we've only talked about Tan Car Hire. I mean, you've got the barbershop, then you're also into farming and produce trading, and also events hosting. How are you juggling all these things? Can you give us some tips on how you're doing it all and holding it together?
Yeah, you are right. I only responded on the two because you asked about Tan and Urban Chef. But correct, as you rightly put it, we are also into farming as well as buying produce and resell. We are also into pretty much the dream is to have an events management kind of a setup. But in the meantime, I'm the only one that is active in the office, which we call exclusive management, which I am the director, and I'm assembling the team that we could be doing events management. And I am currently only doing one aspect of exclusive management, which is hosting the events. I am an MC, I think here in Blantyre and Lilongwe. I know there are quite a number of people that would be able to recall and remember that, yeah, we know him, he's an MC. It has not been easy, honestly, to answer your question. How do I juggle around all of those? Pretty much, I must confess, it's not easy, but it's possible. The number one thing I attribute to making it possible is having a very strong sense of discipline. I call it a strong sense of discipline because I know it's one thing to say you are disciplined and another to really demonstrate that you are disciplined, because all these things call for your attention in one way or the other. And as for me, I try as much as possible to water the garden of discipline, because there are aspects of time management, the aspects on which you have to look at people management. How do you manage the people? There are aspects of leadership as well, And if you are to be disciplined enough, like the way I'm saying, it simply means that if you have the values that you hold on to and you have a set of rules that you go by, you really need to go by them. And if you start your day at 5 or at 3 a.m., you have to be really disciplined to make sure that your day starts at that time. And you really have to allocate your time wisely. And I try as much as possible to juggle around all of that by, number one, time management, which is part of discipline that I'm talking about. And then the other thing that helps me with managing all of these portfolios is delegation. I've come to learn and appreciate the fact that for every good leader, you would always find that there are aspects such as a delegation. For you to become a good leader, you need to be a good delegator. That's one thing I've always believed. And I cannot do all of these or manage all these portfolios that I'm talking about, including my full-time job, if I could not delegate. So I delegate where delegation is possible. Pretty much wherever delegation is possible, I do delegate. And then I can take up the other roles, or I do take up other roles where delegation happens. And where I am needed, for instance, I cannot delegate someone to come and sit in my office as an accountant for the organization that I work for. I have to be here. If I'm hosting a wedding or I'm hosting a corporate event, yes, there are times I've delegated, but because I'm building a brand and I'm becoming a brand known to different people, I rarely would delegate. If a client would want my service particularly, it means I'll have to show up. But if you talk of other businesses, like in the car hire management, urban sheriff itself, the farming business, the buying and reselling of the produce, those are very easy to delegate for me. So it only works as it has been working until now because I do delegate. And I have a
Very
very
good
strong
point.
sense of,
Yeah.
yeah.
Very, very good point. And the fact that you've mentioned the element of vision, we are at the beginning of a new year, fresh year, 2023. For somebody who has never maybe sat down and thought about their vision or their goals, where do they start from?
It's not too late, honestly. It's not too late at all. You know, um, being a Malawian child or a Malawian a brought up person, I know I've been and I still am in the circles where we do talk about visions, we do talk about where we want to be, setting up goals, missions, and whatnot. One thing that comes out very common or outstanding is the fact that most of us, we do whatever we do in our daily lives without a vision. That's for a fact. Because we believe that, or most circles believe, or individuals believe that visions belong to organizations. Visions do not belong to people or individuals. Mission statements belong to organizations. They don't belong to people. You understand? And then we have this routine or a tradition where we make New Year resolutions. Say we come to December, then we make resolutions. We believe that if you do not make resolutions by December, starting January without resolutions, you're lost. You're off track for that whole year. I have a different take towards that because you can make resolutions even in September. You can make resolutions even in March because what really changes is just the calendar. We're taking off the old calendar and bringing in the new calendar. But if the mindset remains the same, we yield the same things that we yielded last time. So to me, I believe that at any point of the year, anyone, as long as you are willing and you're determined, you can set up or you can come up with a vision. Because for other people, or for the sake of our guests who are watching, they would wonder, okay, so how do I come up with a vision? A vision is not something that we don't have. We do have, but it's just a question of putting all the puzzle pieces, the puzzle pieces together. You understand?
Yeah.
Because if you ask a random person in the street, where do you see yourself by December? Where do you see yourself in the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? They'll tell you what they want to, what their aspirations are. And if you then break it down to them that, okay, if you want to see yourself in the next 2 years, where you want to be, what do you think will take you there? That's when you begin to open the minds of people to start appreciating that, oh, okay, so now this is where I derive my vision from. This is where I can build up a vision from. Because you have to have set up goals. All right. So it's not too late. Someone in this year, they're in January. They have not set up the goals for this year. We can have short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals. So if someone does not have any of those goals, be it short-term, mid-term, or long-term, it's not too late. You can start with the short-term goals because that will instill the discipline I was talking about. It's very difficult for a person who has never had a vision in a short term to start talking about a vision in a long term and pursuing it only to come at the end of that period having realized that vision or having those goals accomplished. It's possible, but it's challenging. I've come to learn that for someone, say this year, 2023, we're already in January, you don't have a vision for this year. You don't have even a mission statement that will give you a guiding compass towards your set goals, or as a vision where you want to see yourself by December this year, you will see someone, they'll be telling you that I want to buy a car by the end of the year, or I want to have a new job by the end of the year. I want to finish this qualification by the end of the year. I want to have achieved ABC by the end of the year. But the question is, getting there is not as simple as talking about it. It's about having your puzzle pieces in place. You need to know the ingredients that will have to go into your vision for it to be realized, or for the goals to be attained. So this could be the right time for someone to give themselves a test. By going with the calendar of January to December, fair enough. People would go with different calendars. If you want to go with January to June, short-term goal or short-term vision, why not? And then if you see that come at the end of the period which you have set your goals for, you have achieved it, you look back at what is it that you've done well for you to have been able to realize your set goals. And what is it that you didn't do well should you have failed to actually achieve anything, or to have achieved the goals that you had set in January, like now. You pick your pieces, you pick your lessons from there, because they're very important. Going forward, you don't need to give up. You need to set new goals. You need to come up with a better vision, in a better version. And then you take it from there.
Very good point. Very well elaborated as well. And I'm sure that our audience are picking value. Thank you guys for being there. I see you, Lusayo. I see you, Mweluza. I see you, Fishani. It's so good to have you, and would love you to chime into this conversation. If you've got any questions that you want me to ask Abel, I want you to put them in the comments, and I'm going to be able to ask him. Now, Abel, not everyone has got multiple side hustles. Other people have got good jobs and they're comfortable, and they're like, you know what, I just do my 7:30 to 5, and after that I go to sleep, or I watch TV, I watch the Premier League, I watch every game. I'm sure that it's different for you because you've got all these things that are going on. How do you, how, for you, at what point did you decide to say, okay, fine, I want to be more? I know that you've mentioned about your purpose, but what else? Like, is there anything else at some point that drove you to say, in a way, I think or a prominent person in society, which is a valid agenda to have, Is there something what else drives you? You're hustling every other day. You're setting up all these things going on for you.
All right. Maybe a little bit for the sake of our audience. I would bring to your attention the fact that being raised by both parents, my dad, like I said earlier on, had a white-collar job. But my mom, on the other hand, for as long as I can remember until her time of death, she had always been a businesswoman. So I'm not surprised today if the other part of me belongs in the office with a white-collar job, and the other part of me belongs in the market, right? In the business industry. And the reason I thought it's good for me to go with multiple type of investments that I'm in today, I saw my mom. She was never doing one thing. She was doing a number of ventures, And for the sake of keeping our audience in track, I will use an example of COVID-19. That was also a very great lesson to me. And that influenced a lot on my part to start thinking of what else can I do? Because I had already other businesses, like 2-3 businesses that were already running by the time when we were hit by the pandemic. Pretty much I was affected heavily, and my sources of income were affected a lot, in as much as my job was not affected. But that means I could not be able to do other things because my sources of income were affected. And this is where I saw the relevance of having multiple investments, because when one fails, you can pick your pieces from the other portfolio. And at the same time, I know it depends on which side you want to argue this from. Other people would say, no, you cannot be a jack of all trades. Why would you want to do that? You want to do that. You want to do that. It's about risk management as well. You understand? Because you're looking at, if one business would collapse or one business is failing, the other business could sustain it. Because some businesses are even seasonal. You understand? Like the business of buying produce. There are particular produce that you would buy in a particular season, and then you would have to wait for another season to go back into business. All right? Why you do that, or why you wait in a certain season, you cannot be dormant. And then there are times when you will have to get resources from one investment to another investment on purpose. It just depends on what movement are you making. Is it that you are diverting all the resources into this and you're foregoing the other business? Or is it that you are simply diversifying, getting part of the investment from one investment and starting another investment? As for me, I'll give you an example during COVID, a very, very valid example, which I think our audience will be able to relate with. Car hiring business. 2020, at the peak of the pandemic, I saw myself parking all the cars for 6 months, because most of my clients, the organizations, the corporate world, as well as individuals that ordinarily were getting cars from me, they could not get them. I saw myself in 6 months just cleaning the vehicles. One day, I'm driving this vehicle just because I want to keep the wheels running. I could not just be looking at them on the parking lot. And then the next day, I'm jumping into another car. The next day, not as a show off, but because I need to keep the machines running for 6 months. And it became expensive just having the cars idle.
Yeah.
This motivated me to quickly open up Urban Chef. You see now.
Yeah.
And this is when I started putting the pieces together for Urban Chef, because I realized that we are hit by the pandemic, but there are some businesses with or without the pandemic, they're still thriving. Anyway, one of which is the food business. You and me, despite the pandemic, I believe that every day we were feeding ourselves.
Yes.
We had to eat. All right. And then I asked myself, I'm already into the farm produce. I'm already farming and whatnot. But at the scale which I was operating, I also needed to ensure that I'm moving the produce from point A to point B, identify the buyers, of which most of the prospects at that particular time did not have enough resources. You're looking at even the pricing itself.
Yeah.
If we lost out some, it's because of the prices on the market were affected as well. So I said to myself, what about hair cutting and grooming? It doesn't mean that because we are no longer going to work or because we are no longer doing business, then we have stopped looking after ourselves, or the hair will stop growing for men. I knew that our hair is still growing. So what I needed to do, let me go into cutting people's hair.
Yeah.
Then I diversified. I took some of the resources from one investment. I opened an executive barber shop. During the pandemic, the other interview I had with a newspaper, I remember I mentioned that, you know, I've seen the business growing from small to medium to where we are today, because even though it's during the pandemic, because one thing for sure that has been happening, people have still been coming. They would still want to look in shape. They would still want to look okay. They would still want to take care of their bodies and whatnot. So people were still coming and cutting their hair during the pandemic, and even after the pandemic. You understand? So that is just one of the very good examples that people would be able to relate with. So to answer your question as to why I've decided to diversify, it's pretty much on risk management. It's part of risk management. Yeah.
Very, very well said. I love that from your answer, it's giving the vibes of like, as young people, we have to be responsive to the marketplace. We have to be agile. We have to be able to maneuver, and we have to be, we have to keep our eyes open for opportunities, because not everyone in that space and time were able to see the opportunities that are coming up. So we have to position ourselves in such a way that we are leveraging the opportunities that are happening or that are coming up in our society as things move and as things change, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, great. There is a question. Thank you, Hastings. That's my dad. He says, ask Abel, how has he dealt with issues of theft? Have you dealt with issues of theft or any trouble like that to other entrepreneurs? How do you handle those things?
You can never rule it out
Yeah.
completely. Otherwise, you'll be fooling yourself to think that, in spite of having the internal controls or systems that are functional, that are running, you always have to have a provision for that room. Why? Because when that day comes and you thought all your systems were perfect, watertight, and only to realize that, people were stealing in the process, it would hit you so hard because you would have separated yourself from the reality a lot. Even though these are not stories that you would be discussing with your employees and whatnot,
Yeah.
people working for you, I remember back then, before the car hire, I used to have or run minibuses as well, starting with our dad and then with my brother, and then completely, I was no longer managing any minibuses until 2012. So a very good example would come from there.
Yeah.
You are at the mercy of the driver and the conductor. Every morning when they go on the road, they are going to make money for you. But trust me, you're not the priority. The priority is them and their families. Because if you look at the kind of internal controls you would have in that system, they're difficult to manage.
Yeah.
That's why I say you are at their mercy. How much, even though you can give them a target, as most people do, yes, it's part of the internal controls, but they would still find a way to beat the system anyway.
Yeah.
Same thing. You can borrow that same understanding to use it on any business. The ones that are still running up to now, there are some which I know are watertight, but when that day comes, it happens, it gives me an opportunity to go back to do my homework and see where are the loopholes. And if you ask me how have I managed that, I've come around that, and it has led to firing or letting go of some people.
Yeah.
People have stolen from me, and they do steal from me. You talk of the farm produce. How does someone go on an empty belly when they're keeping your tons of grain, when they're keeping, they're managing your farm, you have fresh produce in your farm, and you're nowhere near your farm. You're only just you're a phone call away. I mean, you are at their mercy still.
Yeah.
So that's something that I've never ruled it out. It happens, but we manage it to the lowest level possible.
Okay, very good point. Very good point, and very helpful that we have to sort of like, be proactive about it and have contingency and know that these things are going to happen, but we don't let them stop us at all. Let them make us stop our progress, our growth inside of our businesses. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for participating. Remember, you're watching the Nditha Mindset Show, and I'm talking to Abel Manda. He is an accountant, but also runs multiple side hustles, and we're learning from his journey of how he's been able to keep it all together. And as we're winding up the show, Abel, I want to ask you, what does success look like to you?
Wow. All right. I like the fact that what it looks like to me, and I would take it as such, because I know success would look different from different people.
Yes.
But from my perspective, success would look like having to accomplish something that, we talked about a vision earlier on. You have set goals. If you are up to accomplishing them and it comes to work that you have accomplished that to me, I would regard that as success. All right. At the same time, the other success that people maybe would be looking at.
I can't hear you. Yeah, I think you're muted. I think you're muted. Unmute. Something must have happened, yeah. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, you're back.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah.
I'm sorry, there was an interruption
Mm-hmm.
as I was
It
talking.
happens with mobiles and all those things, yeah. Yeah. So you were talking about what success looks like for you.
All right.
Yeah, you can continue.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. So success to me, it's if you're able to live a comfortable life, all right? Comfortable life to me would mean being able to have the disposable income, all right? Would also mean that I'm sorry, I'm having feedback. Sorry to you and all the audience. I'm having
No,
a lot of
but we
feedback.
can hear you. We can hear you perfectly. Don't worry about it. We hear you properly. So you can continue. Yeah.
All right. So comfortable life would mean that. Okay, thank you, Erin. Thank you. You know, there are times when we have a lot of things that we aspire to have in our lives, material things, things that are immaterial as well, but we hold them dearly and we value them in our lives.
Mm.
If we attend those things, to me, I believe that that should amount to success. All right. And at the end of the day, if you have all of that which would make your life comfortable and you still have extra on you, I'm quite sure you can look at yourself either as successful or as accomplished.
So good. So good. All right. Now moving into the last round of the show. Quick question: who is someone who you admire, and why do you admire them?
Okay, so let me just point out this thing that I've noticed. I think the network or something could be up. Once you have spoken,
Yeah.
I'm hearing the same message twice. So it's like, yeah. So it's like even when I speak, I'm getting to hear myself speaking again. So that's what I think is also confusing.
Okay, totally understandable. So I think it's a network challenge, but otherwise, it's been amazing having you on the show. I think I can just ask you one last question and then we'll end the show on that note. Otherwise, what is your advice to the people that are watching this show and they want to make something out of their life, what would you say to them? What's the advice that you can share with them, if you can hear me?
So the reason you would see me staying quiet, I'm waiting until the second part of the message comes to finish, then I can comment. Maybe that's
No
why
problem.
you're seeing that I'm quiet.
Yeah. We can patiently wait.
So I'll give you quickly the question you asked me. Who the people that I admire and why? I'll just give you two names quickly. I have, in the modern days, I admire Vusi Tembekwayo from South Africa, and from all times, I admire Dr. Miles Monroe.
Mm-hmm. Great one. Share with us your favorite book that someone can pick up and read over the weekend.
Capitalist Nigger.
Okay. All right. Great.
My favorite book is a very small book. Mm-hmm. Capitalist Nigger by Chika Onyeani.
Okay. I will check that one out. I had never heard of it. I will check it out. Thank you for sharing. And another question, what is a habit that has helped you to become what you are today?
Prayer and service to God.
Okay.
You know, what I believe in, if you may allow me to quote the scripture, 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 58. It says that our service is not in vain to the Lord. I believe that for as long as I've been prayerful and I've been of service to the Lord has been able to work a lot of things around me in return. Because I've been his servant in his vineyard, he has been able to come to my rescue as well, because I avail myself to his service. So that as a habit, it has helped me both in my work and business. Yeah.
So good. So good. It has been such a pleasure having you on the show. I think this conversation would have gone on and on, but the network is letting us down. Thank you for all the value that you've shared with us and with our audience. And I'm sure that we are all better off after this conversation. And to our audience, thank you for having been there and watched the Nditha Mindset Show. Until next week, I can't wait to see you. And for ladies, I have a workshop that is happening on the 14th of January. I want you to be part of that workshop. So check out my stories for all the details. Let's get our mindset right, because once we start winning there, then everything else becomes easier. Abel, thank you so much for having been on the show, and it's been amazing. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much for having me, Irene.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Audience.
Yeah, thank you to our audience. I think we should do this in person as well. We need to have more productive conversations like this. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful